Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We're glad that you're all here. I want to do just a little intro about the Kai's company, Michael Pappas and Christina. For those of you, for those of you who don't know who they are, then you've been under a rock for quite a while. But just to give you some great background, the Kai's company is going to next year. It's going to be 100 years old. It started in 1926 by Ken Kai's, and then Mike's dad, Ted Pappas, he had purchased the company in 1969. Michael joined as a sales associate, which I would have loved to see what you look like in 1980 when you joined it, Mike. And then in 1991 became the president. Now, under Mike's leadership, this company has just exploded with over 75 independent acquisitions, along with Mike, I know in 2016, Illustrated Properties, which is a huge merger. That's congratulations again on that. But, the company now is 50 offices in Florida, over 4,000 agents, doing somewhere about $8 billion in sales, which Mike, I may ask you for a loan later on. And in addition to all that they have, in-house mortgage lending, title, insurance, property management, commercial, luxury division. And Mike is one of the founding members of the leading real estate companies in the world, which is really awesome. Now, what I'm real impressed about is that this is now going into the fourth generation of a family-owned business. And Mike, I looked into that with Christina. Last minute guess. I'm so excited that Christina's here.
I was in tech support. Christina was setting me up, and she says, "Are you set up for this?" I said, "Yeah." I'll turn on. She said, "There's a national deal. This is Darryl Davis," and she was setting me up, and we started talking to Darryl. Darryl goes, "Can you join?" So Christina,
I'm here.
I'm so glad that you're here, Christine. I did some research that the fact that you're fourth generation, that puts you into like the top 3% of family businesses that make it to fourth generation, which, it's just incredible. And I know also you guys do tremendous work with charities. But I'm going to just quote something that you actually, Michael, you said in the Miami Today News. You said that it's about more than just real estate. It's about taking care of people in community. And that's why you're so actively involved in charities, which is really awesome. It says something about you and your character. But the last thing I'll say two last things, and then we're going to get to this is, Michael, you really embody, I know something that your dad taught you, which was, right or wrong, good or bad. If they're yours, you better take care of them.
Well, you're good. That's exactly right.
Well, you embody that, Mike. You really do. This is why you have such a powerful.
You got to fight for your people. My dad used to say, if you don't like them, they shouldn't be on your team. But if they're on your team, good or bad, you better fight hard for them.
Exactly. All right. And I'm going to say one last thing, and then I'm going to go to my questions. Because I was thinking about this and thinking about, what you and now Christina have done. With the thousands of agents that you have, you guys make a difference in their lives.
Right.
You really do. And it's not just them, though, because it's them and their families. And I know you know this. But I want to acknowledge you publicly that because of the work that you do and the contribution that you've made to your associates, it's a ripple effect to all of the families, the buyers and sellers. The difference that you have made in people's lives is countless. And you're leaving behind an incredible legacy when you get to your next level. So anyway, it's a real honor for me to be here with you.
Thank you. I'm honored. It's funny, you make me cry because I do think they ask you about the why. And I always say that, and people, even now, I didn't really get it when I was younger. You thought you were going someplace, you're going to get there. And it really is the journey toward excellence along with a great team and supporting it. If you don't get a thrill out of agents, yesterday, I went to our Illustrated, our headquarters, and somebody did a $28 million deal and we were celebrating it. I mean, there is a thrill in the lives of each individual to see that and be a part of it. I think we're quite blessed and quite honored.
And I think, and I hope everybody pays attention. Like what Mike just said is a powerful pearl of wisdom that it goes beyond the transaction, it goes beyond the money. It's the lives that we make a difference with.
Amen.
And it really that's beautiful. All right.
No, you're not going to get, and I think you know it. I'm getting old, and I've got a daughter coming up, and she's pushing me out. Thus, she's taking over here. I'm thinking, I thought it was my webinar, and now she's stepping in. So, and she is expecting my 11th grandchild. I have 5 kids, and so this is the 11th, and she's delivering it in about a week.
Yeah.
So I'm so surprised that she's here. So we're honored, but it is exciting to see her now embracing and dealing with the next generation, which doesn't want. In fact, I have pictures of my dad and Ken Kaiser. She goes, they don't want to see a bunch of old people. That was behind me. So.
Just say that.
Boy, Christina, he's really throwing you under the bus over here.
I know. I came in to make sure he had a light. Next time I'll let him do it from the angle in his office with all his stuff, with all like the ceiling. You know, he was like looking down at the camera. I'm thinking, uh-oh, he's going to get live on with Darryl, and Darryl's going to have a setup, and Mike's going to be, you know, staring down the barrel. So,
Christina, actually, let me, because this wasn't in my questions, but because again, this is a last minute blessing that you're here. I want to ask you, how did you become now were you, when you were growing up, were you saying, all right, I'm gonna be the 4th generation leader, or did you go off and do something? I think you did some hospitality, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
I did. But I will tell you that when we were in middle school, Mike made me take one of those like profiles I think he gives his managers. And it was like so confusing. He said, just answer as you think. I'm thinking like, I remember being in middle school and he was very surprised because I have an older sister who's 18 months ahead of me and is very strong as well. And he was amazed at how strong my profile, I think, came out.
She's a lot like my father. I mean, it's interesting because my father was tough and strong and deliberate. So there's no question. We used to take them. So I had 5 kids when they were little. My wife said, you can't play golf on Saturday. I need a break. So then I would take them to work. And so we would take them all downtown, and we were there. And
we would sell houses. So we'd go in the typewriter and I would create a contract, and then I would show my sister and my other sisters. There'd be like the single mom. We'd open the door and like the sister had 2 kids, and we'd show her this one house. And then my grandfather's office was the corner. So that was a lot more expensive, and we would trade in candy. And so we would write the contract, and each office had a different level amount of candy that it cost.
Wow. That's hysterical. All right. So
a little 5-year-old, it was a 19-story building overlooking the bay.
Oh, yeah.
And our 5-year-old got in the elevator on a Saturday morning. She's going, help!
Yeah. All right. So let me, and by the way, I'm going to, before I add this next question that I ask you, just for everybody, because we have not just brokers, managers, leaders, but we also have some agents. And I just want to give them some coaching. Gang, while you're listening to Mike and Christina share their wisdom, listen through how can I apply this to me, right? So even as a sales associate, you are a leader in your own business. And so I want you to listen, not as a salesperson, but listen as a manager of your own life and your own business, and equate it that way, because you can. There's a lot of value here. All right. So Mike, Christina, how would you describe the company culture? And I think there would be 3 answers, because there's the company culture that buyers and sellers see. There is the company culture that the industry sees, like colleagues, and then there's your agents. So how would you describe your culture?
I think you've got to be true to whoever you are. And so what your personality, you can't be somebody else, and the company can't be somebody else's. And so when I was younger, I may have wanted to be like other firms that were in the marketplace. And one of a wise guy that was actually Bob Furman, my dad's first marketing director, he said, Mike, be us, and no one else can be you. And so I do think whatever that is, you embrace it. We had a great foundation, Ken Kai's, great mentors. He was a man that said, give to the world the best you have, and the best will come back to you. My dad pounded in, like you said, do always what's right, above and beyond. All you have is your reputation. So there were they've always been charitable. The company originally was founded, gives 10% of its profits back to charity. So in this new world, it wasn't a new thing. We've now shared that, where we match $1,000 with our agents in any community event. Christina wants to do 100 events this year, and she's close to doing that. So all of that, I think, does embody. And then she brought in a new marketing director, and what did they do with the culture?
And we really revamped the look and feel of the company, but we really, when we did that, it took us back to our past. So we actually said, we have a proud past and a focused future. And when we revamped our logo, it came with a full re-looking at our core values, and not re-looking at it, actually just came by saying, who are we? We know who we are and we know who we embody. How do we get that out to what you're saying, the consumers and to our peers? And so what came out of that was who we already were. And we were able to actually register the trademark, Your Home Here.
Oh.
And for us, that really embodied at Kai's, our agents feel like they're home here. That this is, we're a family. We fight like a family, but we always wake up together. We're still related and still going to breakfast at the same table. And so here, you're home. For our consumers, it resonates with them that they're able to say, hey, I'm home. This is either that home in front of the home I'm looking at today is I'm home here with my agent. I feel home. And so it's really one of those taglines that really just, we felt embodied us. And so it wasn't a change in what we were doing, but really just a full embodiment.
You said that. So they wrote the mission to empower Florida's future through real estate services, guidance, and a heartfelt commitment to our community. So it really isn't about the transaction. You said it. We have another one, what you say, always do what's right. Was one of them. We had 9 core values. You're here first, but more so than I think at the end of the day, my dad used to say, your commitment to those agents is are they better off after they've been with you than when they got there? Yeah. And so if they're not growing, and we've had some branch off, do better things and look their way. So really, how can we help each individual maximize their full potential and accomplish what they want to accomplish? And if that aligns with us, then it's a great mix.
Well, that's brilliant. Now, I when you guys rebranded your logo and the colors and the look, I want to talk about that for a second. It wasn't on my questions, but what was the impetus or the seed that said, all right, we're going to rebrand? Was it the logo? Was it the colors? Was it the communication, the messaging of the company? Like, why did you change? What started that thought process to change?
So it's funny because we've had,
we don't have the same answer.
We've got 4 logo changes in the 100 years, but similar. I probably diverted it, trying to be more, remember the internet came in, so our last look and feel was more modern and our people actually, and we changed the colors dramatically. Christina came back in and really did the homework with Madeline, which is our CMO, which is superb. She's really brilliant. Read all the reviews, talked to all the people, got to the consumer, and then in a sense found the essence of us and felt like the heritage was critical, but these core values were there, and then they matched the look and the feel to our culture. And so it really was a backwards deal rather than a forward deal.
And really what started it is what you started with at the beginning is we're walking into 100 years. And so that's monumental. I mean, for a Florida firm, anybody in Florida.
There were swamp and alligators and mosquitoes here in 100 years.
And so we wanted to make sure with the message, it started truly just around messaging and community feel of how do we message this out to our community, to our consumers and Florida in general. And then it really took us back to, all right, do we have the right logo? Do we have the right touch feel that everyone is connected to?
It's never the expectations on all the logo and changes never ends up where I thought it was going. And so the process of understanding
who we are
and what you're trying to do in the case. So what she did is and they've got all of Florida feel. We got handwritten drawings. We got old maps that are behind the scenes. So it kind of embraced what we are, and who we are, different than everybody else. So again, not trying to be anybody else, but embracing our heritage, our location, and our style.
And then bringing in that dark green really embraces the trees you see behind us and that Florida Everglade green that you see all over Florida. And so I think that she did an incredible job, but it had really just been prompted with, are we on the right track to launch into our 100-year anniversary? And if not, let's figure out what that might look like.
And we got a trademark with Your Home Here.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that? I didn't even
That's awesome
to begin with, but that was good.
Now, you said about your core values. You know, I'm always shocked at how many leaders and even agents they don't have mission statement, core values. Talk about that just a minute. So you guys actually have
Yeah.
these
I,
core
I
values.
think again, what was interesting is our people have been there 20, 30, 40 years, a lot of them, and we really are honored and blessed. And I feel like we're stewards. I'm a son. So I'm an SOB. You guys have heard that, the son of the broker. So you feel responsible to make sure you don't screw it up, let alone and improve it. You know what I mean? A little bit. You get the both sides of it. But along that way, I think when you say what were our core values, we were probably living them, where we were doing the community work, we were doing charities, we were engaging with our associates.
Having fun.
But then she was able to articulate and put it in writing, and I think then that embraces it, and so it kind of brings back for new people. But one of the deals is enjoy the journey.
Yeah,
that's one of our core values. We embrace fun and creativity because loving what we do makes every day a pleasure.
and then
So it's not about necessarily getting there, but along the way we better be enjoying it, because it's not good. All of a sudden we're going to be dead, and you're going to say, "What did I do?"
And Darryl,
Right.
as you know, with any company, it's not just about having them, but then embracing them in the office and in every day in life. And when our managers are speaking to recruits, how are we A, embracing them, not just stating them, but B, also letting our current agents and future agents know, hey, we want you to grow beyond limits. We are here to be champion of communities, and we are here to thrive together. It's all, like Mike said, it's all been things we have been woven into our core, and now we just have them on paper with a great backing.
She's cleaned it up. We actually say we give you a warm welcome, a family feel, and a winning culture.
That's our
We
promise.
want to win. We want to win. We want to grow. We want to do well. And so my dad used to say the great athletes, if they're on here, great salespeople, if they jump over 6 foot, they finish up, they come back, raise it to 6'1".
Yeah.
You know, everybody, the great ones are never satisfied.
Yeah.
And I think
I think people are just watching you guys together and share. I'm sure people are seeing that it's who you are,
right,
as a family, committed to fun, making a difference, contributing to others, and real estate is merely the vehicle to express that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we are, you said it, and I don't think we can belittle it all. I mean, it transforms communities. I mean, when you sell a home, I mean, every statistic, everything you say, I mean, the net worth of an average homeowner is $400,000. The net worth of an average renter is $10,000. I mean, you're transforming lives. We're trying to get people to buy homes. I mean, it's serious. It's big. It's not little.
It's people who own homes have lower divorce rates, higher graduation rates, lower depression rates. And so I think, I did work in hospitality before, and people ask, how was that transition, or why did you transition? One was, not being able to work with my grandfather who suddenly passed away, though he was 86. It was sudden. But the second is really, what does that fulfillment look like? And in hospitality, it's a wonderful thing, and upgrading people in hotel rooms and, having really wonderful dinners. But putting shelter over people's heads and really making a difference in someone's life is really hard to find anything else more fulfilling in life.
And it's transformational
for every person. Yeah.
I hope you guys
what we do, I think, in sales, I always say this, you can sell anything. You can sell, if you like sales and the people you're on the sales, you can sell copiers, you can sell phones, you're selling real estate. And what better way? And then we found investing in real estate, that combination, wow. I mean, I don't know anything else, no inventory, no overhead, upside. But yesterday, we had a $28.5 million deal with the Russos. I mean, you start putting 3% on that sucker, that's a lifetime of earnings for most people. And so to have that opportunity to be able to do that type of business and earn that type of money is quite amazing, with 63 hours of schooling. I mean, a couple tests, and you got an entry fee ticket to play the game. What a great game to play.
I just want to highlight for everybody watching how powerful what you all just said, and then we're going to go into a different topic. And that is, gang, when you have a vision that's bigger than just the transaction, when you see that what you do is much bigger than that commission check or that closing, it helps you deal with the highs and lows of real estate. And you can see from these two that who they are is just passionate about making a difference in people's lives in the space of real estate. And powerful. All right, let's jump to a hot topic to get your opinion on this real quick, and that is the CCP. So,
That
so
sounds like a Russian mafia or something.
it sure does, doesn't it? So, the clear cooperation policy, where is the company stance on that? Do you feel that that's NAR overstepped? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you support? What's your thoughts on that?
So Christina's been the past president of the Florida Association of Realtors. She's there. So I had a call with her. I didn't know she was going to be on, so I'll let her answer.
You called me and he said, I need to answer some of these questions about CCP and NAR. So I said, I usually call him before a podcast. So our company stance has always been, we do what's best for our customer. And that stands beyond any rules. And typically it aligns with CCP, right? Typically the best thing for our consumer is to get it into the MLS, get as much exposure as possible and sell it for the highest price possible, right? And that makes a lot of sense. And what I think we often forget is that there are a lot of options within the CCP and within MLS, actually. We can turn it off from the internet. You could just expose it to our MLS. You could turn the address off. People want privacy. You can turn the address off and you can expose it. You can speak to your customer. You can get the property ready to actually get delayed marketing, and you can get the property all ready. It doesn't mean I have to go take a listing tomorrow. I put it in, which is what it's kind of been kind of changed and really pushed down everyone's throat that they have no choice. They have to do it this way. And then there's all different ways to market a property. MLS should not be the only way to market a property. You and I know that sometimes it's picking up the phone and calling the brokers in the neighborhood and saying, hey, I know you own this neighborhood. That, hey, sometimes it takes additional drone photography, advertising, door knocking. And so it's the MLS to me is a piece of the marketing and of each and every individual property.
So my answer, you say to me, and again, I'm not in the deep roots, but I do think this, if you want transparency, if you want availability, if you start thinking, I'm going to play the game, I'm going to hold the listing off, I don't want anybody to see it, I'm going to try aspirational property, I'm going to test the market. I'm not so sure that works for the typical mass market. It may for certain properties and everything else. So am I gaming the system or am I trying to do what's best? We actually got sued in COVID. We sold an off-market property for $3 million.
Between our own brokers.
And no, it wasn't between us. It was another cooperating broker. It was off-market. We sold for $3 million. He was going to pay cash. He ended up getting an appraisal and it came in for $2 million. It was a funky condo on Palm Beach Island. And so he lost his $300,000 and he sued us. He said, you guys sold me a bag of goods. It ended up selling close to it. But after lawsuit, after time, everything else, he was upset that he didn't believe, he wasn't here. He got the video and, it was that crazy market, so my point is, they're going to want to get the maximum they can get for the property. So that what I like about the process in a normal market, if COVID continued, we'd all be out of business. Yeah. Meaning if you could sell a property in a day and you could, come on, there's lines up out the doors. And there was 50,000 listings here in South Florida. There were 12,000. It didn't take much to sell a property in that time. Today, you got to work it. And that's what always encourages me, that the strain, and I've said this to our people, this is what the seller wants. This is what the buyer wants. In between is your commission and frustration. And it's our job, and it takes time for the seller to get educated to finally believe the system. And without that process of trying to list it, did you ever sell it?
Hey, we'll talk about it in a minute.
They have a listing that they've had that's overpriced. My son-in-law has it. We talked about it at dinner. Started at 2.8, 2.9. I told them it was worth 2.4, and they've been getting it down, but it hasn't sold yet.
So what I would say back to the CCP and the clauses is this: no matter how smart your seller is, they truly only know what you tell them. At the end of the day, you're there to be their consultant. And in Florida, we have a beautiful thing called transaction brokerage, and we are beholden to the transaction. What's best for the transaction? And if
you still have to be fair, honest, and have good integrity.
and if you could put that hat on and ultimately say, I'm going to be fair, honest, and transparent with my seller about all their options out here and have a real conversation, my gut is the majority of them would say, expose it as much as you can. Let's get maximum price and let's get into the MLS. Right. If I'm having that real conversation.
Yeah. So I'll give you one last thing on CCP and the fragmentation that could happen. When I started in 1980, you talked about there was 15 MLSs in South Florida. They've all consolidated. We've got 2 MLSs. I actually use that to our advantage because we would download the MLSs. Today, we have 80% of our agents have 80% of Florida's listings. We're only in 40% basically of Florida, but we have access to them. And so they have an advantage because they're getting the access to it. So that's where you start getting, now you want competitive nature. I would like that. Do I think that's best for sellers? Maybe not. If I look at Europe and if I've been to Thailand leading RE and they have off-market listings and you got to go to the agent, and there are multiple people, it's very confusing. Does it make much sense? Probably not.
Is it what's best? That's where I think you heard the passion from the beginning for us. We're about our communities and giving back. And is it what's best for our buyers and sellers to have that fragmentation, that confusion? It's a confusing process. Lots of money has been spent in tech to disrupt us, and yet we still need people to help people decipher that. And so if the more fragmented you get, the more confusing it becomes.
It may be a moot point. If AI takes over and it's going to be able to search everybody's deal on, maybe MLSs aren't going to be here.
There you go.
The whole thing.
That doesn't matter.
We're going to have flying cars and cars that drive themselves. So we're going to have to adapt to all that in the future.
There you go.
All right, so let's jump to, because something that you said I want to highlight about the market and how it's shifting, which Mike, you were touching upon that with the listings and stuff. So, and I know Florida is really getting their teeth knocked in compared to some other parts of the country. So I know there's agents especially that are concerned, like when I do the coaching, they'll say, Darryl, I have this listing, it's not selling. I say, how long has it been on the market? It's been on the market for 3 days and it hasn't sold yet. So they're coming off of that COVID time where things were selling hotcakes. So what do you say to the agents that where we are and the brokers and managers about where the market is going and how do we navigate this new reality?
So I think everybody knows that the process, what makes it, I was worried when the internet came out in the business in 96, 97. I thought we were going to get disintermediated. And I was really worried about that. I've seen everybody, billions of dollars trying to disintermediate the agents. Haven't seen that work. Remember Open Door and OfferPad, we're going to go direct to the consumer, and Zillow tried it and Redfin tried it, and Redfin's going to pay their agents salaries and we're going to get great things. But no model has been up. This is basically a contingent fee based performance business. So if you understand that in your mind, that I'm getting paid better maybe than normal if I perform, but I do work for nothing if I don't. It works for the seller because and the buyer because it's built into the transaction. They're not really paying it. They are, but it's built into the financing and everything else. They're not having, like a lawyer, we've been through this, and in our lawsuit, you don't want to see the law bills that we get, but they don't seem to matter. They just keep sending them to us, and they're big bills, and we got to pay them. I don't see the
even if they lose, they still get paid.
Consumer wanting to get bills from us and say, "Oh, you didn't sell me a house, and pay me." So I think if it's a contingency fee basis, usually, and it's unique to the seller, unique to the buyer, and unique to the house. So that is the really differential that you can't cookie cutter it, and it takes that you don't really know the value. So I need to test the market. I need to put it out there. I need to communicate. And the sellers I've never 2 years, 2005 and 21, when I thought sellers were in love with us because they got more than that. The other 43 years, every seller we've ever sold probably was somewhat disappointed from what they got. And so it's that process of bringing them to reality, and the madder they get, the better they are.
The more motivated they are.
So you want them frustrated. You want them mad. You want them coming at you. Because if they don't get mad, you aren't going to sell the house. Hey, I mean,
If they don't care that their house has been sitting for a month and you've been showing it, or it's getting no shows, then they probably aren't motivated, right, Darryl? So it is, it's dealing with that frustration. But to your question about the agent, in my mind, majority of agents have been in the business less than 10 years. And so if you think back to 2015, it's been pretty good years since 2015 moving up. And then but what we don't remember is before 2020. And so the 2015 to 2019 properties did sit, 3, 4, 5 months.
It has to for the process to work.
What Mike said at the beginning, what I would remind agents is if it went in 3 days every single time you did it, they wouldn't really need you. And I'm not sure you'd be able to justify your pricing continually.
Thus the fee structure to make a profit for the time that I'm doing. And so it seems like a lot to maybe some people, but they don't realize how many people you've shown that you didn't buy, how many houses, how long it takes to do it. You start doing an hourly deal, our agents, your agents, the people on here are working their fannies off, doing a lot of work for nothing so that when that success does happen, they get paid.
Success fee.
And so it's have to make a profit at the end of the day. And you look at the public companies, there aren't a lot of real estate companies in this market making a lot of money right now. So,
yeah.
so it is what it is.
All right. So one of the questions I get, we've had so many lawsuits lately. And so a common question the agents are asking, should I be a member of NAR? And what say you? What do you say to that?
And again, Christina may have a different answer. I'd say that you got a choice. You don't have to be. Currently, the system, probably because of the MLS and the three-way, makes us be there. If they start to separate the MLS and you start getting options, we have a Thompson state today, meaning that you don't have to be a member of NAR to get the MLS. And so, but again, if you're asking me from a broker's hat, I do think NAR has done more advocacy than we really realize. I think right now, if this capital gains things passes, where they raise the capital gains or eliminate the capital gains on sale of homes, it would open up a lot of homes. We're in there fighting that now. I mean, I even remember when the first 20% deduction, the tax change 10 years ago that just expired is coming on. They excluded real estate firms originally.
Brokers.
We weren't going to get that 20% discount off of the LLCs because they were thinking corporate stock, and they were thinking we fought for that and got brokers to be able to get the carve out. So those are the things that.
And that actually was brought
by Hannah. I remember she went to Senate and spoke to them about it.
And then NAR brought in all of our CPAs of the large brokerages to understand how our independent contractors file, how they file their taxes to make sure that they were
so
carved out.
You're not going to have that voice. And so again, is it? I'm agnostic. I mean, right now it is what it is. If somebody comes up with a better plan and we think it's an option and you get the services. But for the $100, $200, probably a pretty good deal right now.
And not just, and then you look at advocacy, and then you look at all the additional tools, and really it's our professional standards. It's setting the code of ethics, and there's always conversations around that. But it is holding everybody to a higher level.
I think with the lawsuit, let's say this: if they don't deliver the goods, if they're not looking at their cost, if they're not managing it effectively, you're going to get breakage. I mean, is this Russia at 1900 and all of a sudden the Tsar is going to get killed and the revolution is going to happen? I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you this: Mike is flying to Chicago in October to hear and listen to where the strategic plan is headed for NAR. I think you got to see.
I'm agnostic. Let's see how it delivers.
Right.
All right. So now, what are you folks doing, or what advice would you give for brokers and managers about, given what's happened in the past 12 months with some of these lawsuits? What are you doing, or what should we do to protect our businesses better from a legal standpoint?
So we had so I think we've never, again, the history of our company, we've always had our own forms. We didn't only use the MLS forms and the board forms. That actually caused some strain when I was growing up and coming through the business, because they want the standard forms. But in those forms, you can write things in that can protect the firms. Arbitration clause, we have it both in our buyer side and our seller side, saying in the county that they have to go to arbitration. They can't do a class action. Now, saying that, we did settle because of the cost of what the lawsuit's going to be. You thought, where it is, so it doesn't necessarily protect you, but generally it helps you along the way. So I think reading your contracts and knowing what's going to protect you in those things, we actually have a limitation of damages, in our clauses that says, hey, where you can sue us, but it's only going to be the commission.
A class action waiver.
Yeah, we have a class.
Wow, that's a great idea.
We had all of that. We actually, in 22, when that was going on before it got settled, we changed our listing agreement and said the seller has the option to cooperate. So we said, okay, this looks like where it's heading. So I think what we need to realize is the rules is kind of like what we started with our culture. Our culture sets who you are. The rules don't set who you are. The market will set who you are. And let's let the market run. And it probably is not going to look that big a difference than what it does, because it's not like we created it. It's because that's what works.
And then I'll say this.
Does that make sense?
I think
Absolutely. That was brilliant.
at the same time, there is a cost of doing business in this country that incurs legal costs. And so if you're always afraid of doing something wrong and incurring a legal cost, then you're going to sit inside your bubble.
We did get a false contract in the Florida contract, FAR bar. It said it was a non-FAR bar, but who reads it? And in the inspection report, it said the seller can reduce the price by 25%. This is Florida.
Required.
And so they were going to reduce the price after the inspection, and our seller signed it, and our agent didn't catch it. So we have AI now reading our contracts. Christina says, let's get Max, we call Max, read all the contracts, find anything else in there. So they read 1,600 pending contracts, and God willing, there's no other ones that were there. So we had to deal with the one. So my point is, my dad used to say lawsuits and problems are the cost of doing business.
Right,
You're not going to be Teflon, and you can do everything right. But again, we settle, you move quick, you listen to the person, you pay, you move on.
Someone said, can I get sued for this? And I said, we're in America, you can get sued for anything, even if you're right.
Right.
So
Exactly.
But I think what shocks me, Darryl, and I think what we need to say, we do 20,000 deals a year. We got people showing homes. When I've done the math, 100,000 people are looking at our listings a year. Or, just crazy numbers. There's no theft. There's no, stealing. There's no, it really is rare that you get real problems for the number. We're in homes, we're doing deals. So again, it's the mindset that you have of opportunity or fear that controls you. And I think you can't let fear, she won't listen to the news. No. She got in the car, we're doing our summer tour. She goes, turn that off. I said, it's NPR. She goes, it's news. I don't want to hear the negative news because I don't want that in my mind. I want to focus on what we're doing and do good things. And so
the acronym, Christina, you'll like this. The acronym I came up for news is negative events we see. That's the acronym.
It doesn't. And my grandfather used to say, today's newspaper lines tomorrow's bird cages. So, who cares? I'm like, I can't control it, and I like to control things, so I got to turn it off.
All right. So now I want to highlight something that you just said, because so I do the coaching calls every week with our members, right? Every Monday they can ask me questions.
Don't you have thousands of people? You guys
yes, we do.
God bless you. Congratulations. I met Darryl 30 years ago. I don't know if you caught it. He spoke to us and done it. And let me tell you, to be in this business, doing what he's doing, I could give you hundreds that have come and gone. I don't want to give you all the names. It's very rare to last in this business with all the pivots. In his Smile campaign, I don't know if you still do it, with his graciousness. And so we applaud you. Yeah. We thank you for your work. We know, again,
Thanks.
You're changing lives, you're doing business, and you figured out the model that works.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. All right. So one of the questions that they asked me about the forms is listing agreement, buyer agency agreement, stuff like real estate contracts are different. Those are created by lawyers. We can't practice law, yada, yada. But listing agreement, buyer agency agreements, I think there's a brainwash for agents and brokers and managers thinking they have to use the approved ones coming out of the associations. Speak to that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, two things. One, you have to, if it's a buyer engagement, you have to follow the settlement if your company follows that. So, I mean, follow your broker and what the requirements are. And then there are 13 states that there is a required form by the state and required by the state to have that. So depending on the state, I know we're speaking to everybody, I would want to be clear, but no, from a brokerage standpoint, as long as you're following either the settlement, whatever your requirements were from the settlement and or the state, you can create your own forms for both listing and for buyers.
So
we have.
We have a guy, Tom Baker, who's an engineer that really covers our data and our work. He was a manager for us and is excellent with our lawyers, putting in the right things.
He also sits on the forms committee and the Florida Realtors, we call it the FAR Bar committee, where it's made up of attorneys and realtors who create our contracts. So he sits there, he helps curate those forms and then brings back to us, all right, maybe we want to change some things differently and whatnot. And I think that's the difference is it's being willing to understand that as a brokerage, we can make our own decisions.
Yes.
I think that this message out here that NAR and all these people are big bad wolf, they tell us what to do. We can still make our business decisions every day differently, marketing.
I like Christina, don't say this. She says, there is no NAR jail.
Oh, that's true. I often say, well, we don't have forms required for a buyer agreement required in the state of Florida. So I said, it's MLS jail if you don't have it signed. I mean, let's put it in perspective here, everybody. It's this big bad wolf, but like, okay, you're going to get fined if you can't get it done, right? So it's not the end of the world, and we still need to do business.
When this came down, I called the 13 states. We called brokers in the states and said, we have the forms. You have to get them signed. How is it? And really what's already happening, they said, well, we get it done. Eventually it gets in the file, but it wasn't a big issue. So to think that it was state law before this happened in 13 states and you never heard about it, why is this such a big deal? So and we went through a dual agency 30 years ago. And that was going to disrupt, and you had to buyer. We actually went out of agency in the 90s because our lawyer wouldn't let us do dual agency. I had to go to MLS of NAR to get a listing approved that wasn't an agency listing. They wouldn't approve it. So again, you just got to evolve, and then it finally works its way through, and the market sets the price, and it all happens. So I worried less now about changes than I did 30 years ago.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Julie, do we have any questions from the attendees in the Q&A yet?
We just have one.
Okay, so let me encourage them. So gang, so what I want to do, gang, is turn it over to you in a minute with your questions. So what I want you to do is go to the Q&A portion of the Zoom meeting. I know we're streaming this on YouTube and other places. We apologize. You guys can't ask the questions, but for those of you on the Zoom, start to think of a question you'd like to ask these two wonderful people. And we're going to read it for you in just a second. So we're waiting for that. I'm going to ask you about the buyer agency and the settlement, right? So nationwide, there's a lot of angst still with agents who didn't have to sit down with the buyer and have the buyer agency conversation, talk about the fees and da-da-da. And some of them, quite frankly, are just ignoring it. And just ignoring, they're just doing it the way they used to do it. So what do you say? How do you help people to get acclimated to that new conversation?
Yeah, Christina's probably got a better deal. The basic situation is it's raising the bars. For some reason, there's a difference between probably a buyer agent and a listing agent. The listing agent has to get it signed, has to say, you got to pay me. In the history of my 45 years, you kind of felt like you were working for free for the buyer. You weren't, because that wasn't it. So it's a mindset shift that you now need to make a listing presentation for the buyer. And you need to have the same preparation, information, packaging. We have a buyer's guide 20. You do a lot for the buyer. They're not aware of it. And again, it's built on trust. I mean, if you don't have the trust of the client, you're not going to get them to make a commitment. But I'd rather at least go through that process. And it may not happen just like you don't get the listing the first time sometimes. It may take a process along the way to get it, but eventually it would probably make us all better for the consumer to know that the compensation that you're getting is built into the system and it's being paid. You wouldn't, I said to my daughter, I went on, when I got married in
Oh.
1980, I went to St. Thomas and got on this horse and buggy, and we were in love, and the horse and buggy drove for an hour, for not an hour, 100 feet, and the guy got out, this is 1980, he goes, $100. And I go, $100? So I said a mental thing, never do anything that you don't know the cost that you're
Prior to doing
it. So that's kind of where the buyer, and we're finding buyers are good with it. They're paying the difference. They're saying, we like you, and we'll pay the difference between what our agreement says and what you receive. So I think, again, it's probably the agent doing this rather than the agent coming in going, hey, what I'm doing is I have great value on what you're going to do, and we're going to be negotiating this, and I'm going to be working for you, and you're going to probably save the money in my negotiation skills along with the way.
I would say that, Darryl, and I think it's just the shift in the buyer agent mentality. I said when we started the training on this over a year ago, when we started in March of last year, you've worn this hat in a listing. You're wearing it now as a buyer's agent. You've overcome every objection as a listing. Well, can you lower your commission? Can we do this? How do I get out of it? What if I'm not? You had all those objections in a listing presentation. You had to be prepared for a listing. You had to know the market. You had to understand what they wanted. You had to listen. You had to overcome their fears, their worries. And we should have been doing that with buyers. And we probably would have been better as buyers agents, even if we didn't have the form, if we did that. And so it's really just changing that mindset. And then what we're finding, Darryl, and you probably with the ones you coach, the good ones are saying, I'm getting paid what I'm valued because I've made my buyer a partner in the process. She said, I make more money as a buyer's agent today than I've ever made in my 20-year history.
And they're saying, we're not letting the seller dictate my value.
Right.
Exactly. That's what we've been telling our power agents is that before the settlement, you had the listing agent telling you what you were worth, take it or leave it. And now here the buyer's agent has the power to say, no, this is what I'm worth. And go for that. And actually, we're seeing net dollars going up for the agents because. So to me,
I do think there's no question that we've been fortunate to have a slowing market with this transition.
Yes.
If it was the and we've seen in a hotter market, commissions are flexible. In a stronger market, it's harder to keep the value. In a slower market, it's easier to get value. I mean, if you look at the evolution of the commission rates, it's economics 101.
That's what we said about the whole lawsuit. It's always built into the market, and it's not a fixed thing. It's built into where the market is headed, and you know what that looked like in COVID. Commissions looked very different than they do now. And so but I think to the point of the buyer's agent, it's flipping the switch and realizing, this can be a huge positive thing, not this, I don't want to talk about my value. Let me say this. I'm 9 months pregnant. I deliver in a week and a half, and I go to the doctor often because of my age. It's a geriatric pregnancy, which is a really fun word. But every time I go, they tell me, okay, $200 for the sonogram, $300. They never say, are you okay with this? It's going to cost this much, right? They don't care. You got to come to the doctor if you want to have a healthy baby. So as realtors, we should say, you want to have a healthy, streamlined process. This is how much it is, and this is what it's worth. Okay, let's move forward, right? And it's that mindset that this is what it's going to cost.
I'm laughing at the vision of you negotiating with the sonogram person, saying, "All right, what do I get for $100? So you get a pencil drawing is what you get for $100."
Her daughter wanted to take the sonogram to school to prove to everybody that she's getting a little sister.
So there you go.
That's awesome. That's cute. All right, so let's go to some questions. Julie, and I know some people are not understanding the technology of Zoom and they're still writing their questions in chat. So we'll let that go too. Let's just help these people and read those questions as well, Julie, but I'll let you take it over. Go ahead.
All right. Well, then if that's the case, Sarah, if you will pull any questions that you see that are not in the Q&A while I ask the ones that are in the Q&A, that would be awesome. Trisha says, looking at the big picture using demographics, please speak to baby boomers who are selling, who are buying second and investment properties and the effect on our business.
Yeah, I think I'm a baby boomer. She's a millennial. So it'll give you a little sense that we have these big debates.
All the time.
And she does. And what was it? What you guys call us?
Oh, geez.
No, they had a bad word for this, for the baby boomers.
No, that's not nice.
Yeah,
No, I
okay.
won't say it.
All right.
Hey, boomer.
Hey, boomer.
So yeah, it's 75 million. You guys know the trust. We're staying. My wife won't sell our house. We raised 5 kids. It's too big. I mean, we should be selling it. She thinks the grandkids are coming back. So there will be a time that does get a shift. And that you are seeing that. So no, I think the real wealth is in the baby boomers. It's skewing the next gen because they don't have it, but there is this transition of wealth that is going to those people. So can you capture that and how do you negotiate that? But I do think motivation of the seller is the same. If we get this tax code change, and there's some talk of it, meaning that you can eliminate the $500,000 to sell your home, I think that will open up the baby boomers opportunities, and you'll see more of them selling with that law change.
And I do think, Mike,
It's almost better to die and give the kids the house because it's a stepped up basis than to sell the house and pay the taxes. That's the dilemma.
And you are seeing a little bit of that decision making now occurring with the baby boomers and their children and what's going to be best. But when it comes to someone asked specifically about second homes, I think it's truly the best thing about real estate. It's truly a local market. So what amenities and services are baby boomers looking for in your neighborhood? And it's different from the old independent living facilities, right? They want walkability, they want luxury, they have more money than any other generation has had in this portion of their life, and they're spending it smartly, but they want to be near their kids, they want to be able to travel, they want some luxury items. So really understanding what those boomers are looking for.
So we have a lake home in South Carolina, and it's a country club community, and the kids call it the old folks home. So I do think that you're
but it's you know, it's a country club, it's boat life. It's not what you think of when you think of these back in the day, these independent, this old folks home. It's truly luxury living. And so I think understanding the boomers in your neighborhood and where they're shifting to, what amenities are provided in that neighborhood.
Got it. Okay.
Love
Julie,
that.
next question.
Denise, hello. Thank you for being awesome in your support of real estate and the state of Florida. What are your views on the market for 2025 and 2026? And I think that's the same as Don.
Yeah, I'll give you, so again, we've gone through the seesaw. I told you 50, in our marketplace, there was 50,000 listings. You guys go on, there's 6 million people that live in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. And so in 18 and 19, there were 50,000 listings. Now then 21, 22, there was 12,000. Now there's 50,000. It looks like the listings are peaking. You don't want, in the Great Recession, there was 120,000. So it gives you a little sense of where you were, where we are. But the seesaw between 50 to 12 to 50, it's been radical, and so it does seem probably worse than it is. So we're bullish. We've been running at the bottom of the market for 3 years. I've messed up. My daughter's been telling me I was wrong. I thought the downturn would be a year. Now it's 3 years. If you go back to 74 and 92, they were a year and a half. 08 was 5 years. So we're into it. I believe that we're right at the turning point, and that and everybody's predicting that 2026, more units. We're only selling 4 million homes a year in the country. And we're normally, if you looked at 2010 to 2020, it was 5.2 million. So we're 30% down from the average of the 18 and 19. What's saving us is prices doubled or 50%. So we're selling more price, even though we're not selling as many. And so it doesn't feel as painful as 18. Our dollar commissions are up. So we think units will start to rise. We don't think in South Florida price will, because you've got to digest this 50%, 100% dive. If you look at the line that normally says, well, you can't handle 10, 15, 20% appreciation per year. And so we're pushing the affordability. So prices are flattening. Condos is a whole different deal because of the law change. But we do think units, we're thinking it could be up 5-10% next year in units. Again, it doesn't boom. It starts to build a ladder. Right. We've gone through a bottom. It'll go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. When there's a feeding frenzy on the luxury and there's a boom market, you go, uh-oh, we're starting over. Get ready. The next year or two is there. I may not be around, but I'm trying to make sure she watches those numbers so she saves enough nuts for those downturns that are bound to happen.
And I think the rest of 25, you're going to slug it out. I think depending on your market, if it's high season here in South Florida, thankfully, so we will see a nice
We're
pickup.
seeing a pickup. April
Okay.
and May was a doozy.
Yeah.
With the noise of Trump and everything else, we were down and pendant already on a low number. June came back even in our pendant. July was up in our pendant.
Yeah.
August is up in our pendant. September's, I thought was up. We're losing a little bit of ground. So I think, again, you're fighting old numbers, but it's not getting worse. It's getting better. And I think as we move forward, the interest rate drop is significant. Our refinances are up. Our loan count is, we just talked to our mortgage company. We'll have the best pendant that we've had in a long time in September. So
Best
there's
year
positive,
we've had.
but it isn't going to go back to 21. It isn't going to go back to 22. It's going to be this market that I've got to communicate. I got to work it over. I'm going to hold the listing for 3, 4, 5 months. I got to get 10 showings through to get an offer. It may take 5 or 6 months. I've got to bring them down. I've got to communicate. I got to do social media. I got to run my business, and I got to run it well, and I got to be efficient, and I got to be farming and working for new buyers and increasing my database so that I can do more business. It's not sit back and wait and hope somebody calls me.
Got it. Okay, great. Great answer. All right, Jules.
So Trisha's question is, will new interest rates impact the market? I think we just covered that, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, we did. Yep.
They're not going to go back to 5%
No.
though. But with the debt and everything else, this is probably the best you're going to see.
But
and
the
if you look at
adjustments-
40 out of the last 50 years, it was 6% or more. So get used to 6% rates and do business in this level. Take out of your mind when rates drop. We need to eliminate that conversation because that's a lie we don't know if they're
I
going to
make him say that in the mirror. Get
Yeah.
that out of your mind.
I did that for the first year or two. She says, quit saying that. So this is it.
But I think it's a mindset. So I'd agree.
Good. All right.
Well, four of the people on the screen have sold at much higher interest rates, right? So
When
Yeah,
I was,
exactly.
listen, when I was an agent, it was 17, 18%.
18% back in the
Yeah.
80s, right?
So
Yeah, you figure it out.
the dilemma back then, Darryl, was 3x of our income. Today it's 6x.
To put
Mm.
For the purpose of the property. So even though the rates were 16% today,
But-
they're challenging a little bit. But I do think you're right. But
It's
this,
just the mindset of getting over
and
how
I
to
think
make
we're
it
over
work.
that. I think people are moving on. Listings
Right.
are coming on. Life is going on. Death,
Right.
divorce, marriage, birth. You can't stop life. So
Right.
life
You
is
can't
going
stop
on.
life. I like that. You can't
Like
stop
that.
life. Now, Julie,
Hannah.
because we're probably not going to get through all the questions, I want you to start to cherry pick the ones you think will help, finish us up strong. So whatever you think, go.
Perfect. Dottie, since buyer representation agreements being signed, do you find commissions increase overall for your company since August of 2024?
I don't think they've increased necessarily, but they haven't decreased. And again, good agents seem to be
Have
getting
increased.
stronger.
Correct.
Weaker agents are still struggling. So
Correct.
it depends on, I would get the skill set. I'd listen to Darryl. I'd get scripts. I'd ask AI, chat, GGP, what should I be saying? How do I do it? I'd put the client in there. How should I address it? You got great access to a lot of things, but you got to be an expert in your business to get the value that you want.
Mm.
I think that flows nicely into Hannah's question. What do you see the future with AI and agents? So I think you just answered that. Great, Mike.
I think we haven't seen anything yet, but I'm not worried, and I could be wrong, that we're going to be eliminated. I think it's going to leverage resources,
incredibly.
and it'll help you. We've got offshoring right now where we've been doing a lot of back office there. Our threat to them is, hey, might take you away, but still that face-to-face, the emotional, the counseling, the guidance. I mean, I look at the Wall Street and the Merrill Lynch agent or rep. We thought they were going to get eliminated when Schwab came in and everything else. And so people in complicated situations that only happen every 5 to 10 years, they need a guidance.
But I think what AI will do is a couple things. One, raise the bar for your agents. You will have to understand the market. Your customers are getting very smart and they're using it to ask questions to then ask you a question. So you have to understand what people are looking for. You need to be utilizing it to say, hey, what does my buyer think? What does my seller think? Put in a
If
profile
everybody doesn't have a chat GBT and not
or a
use
Claude
it, it's
or
going to
any
be your
sort of
assistant.
AI.
It's unbelievable.
We use Copilot.
So it is going to be a transformation.
And I do think it'll be used as a tool. And if you are worried about it and you're going to try to stray away, you'll end up.
It may be, there is a point, Darryl, when the laptops came out and the computers came out, the older people like me said, I don't want to do this. and that may happen, but my dad used to say, the only thing constant is change.
Right.
And so, so everybody's for progress, but nobody's for change. And so
absolutely.
And then I say our job as leaders for broker managers is to bring people into the future kicking and screaming. And so I think because our agents don't want change. Don't tell me, don't tell me when something's reading my contract. Don't tell me something, so we've implemented on the back. I think there's a lot of opportunity for back office streamline support to be able for us to go statewide and be able to support. So it's already there. Right. And so you just got to get comfortable with utilizing it as a tool.
We think chat or AI will be your assistant.
Right, it will.
You'll be a virtual assistant.
But I think that will make you better and more efficient. And if I'm a good salesperson, like Mike started with sales, and I can create those relationships, I can do a lot more deals.
My dad made me sell. Christina sold for 3-4 years. I was managing. I had to manage. She had to manage. So if you don't know the business, if you don't fundamentally know values and how to negotiate and do everything else, that AI won't help you.
Yeah.
but if you intrinsically know your value proposition, you can use as a tool.
Yeah.
All right, so I could probably talk to you guys for another hour, and I actually wish we could. So, but we're going to wrap this up, and I'm going to ask you a question. If each of you take a turn, if you were going to give advice to a broker who is looking, and they could be a small broker or medium size, it doesn't matter, but they're looking to get to their next level to break through. Like if they keep hitting a ceiling and they want to break through, what would you recommend? What kind of advice would you give this?
If you're a managing broker and owner broker, I think the dilemma now is because of the squeeze on commissions and because of the gross commission down, it's gone down. When I was young, we were at higher commission splits, not splits, but and payouts are going up. There is a margin squeeze and caps and 100%, a fee based. So you got to know your model. I do think a selling broker that is doing that. So you got to decide, do I want to be a selling person and maximize my own sales? Or do I want to be a coach, consultant, and managing the horses in the pen? And so the question is if you're going to manage the horses in the pen, you need to then grow enough to cover your costs, to do the modeling, to do anything else. It's a lot of work on a skinny deal. And so my dad used to say, Mike, he put his arm around, he says, you're stuck in hind tit on a skinny dog.
Sorry,
Dan. So there's not a lot of juice.
What was that? I didn't hear it. What was that?
No, don't make him repeat it.
No, it was pretty good, Christina. Go ahead, say it again.
If you're on the farm, he grew up on the farm, you're sucking hind tit on a skinny dog.
From a broker perspective.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of juice coming.
Darryl has some of those sayings that I regret too, Christina.
Yeah.
So we're in the same.
So the answer, the same adage, 86% of all the problems with the broker can be solved by recruiting.
Yeah.
And so it's the same deal that I learned 45 years, recruit, retain, and develop, or develop and retain. If you can keep your people in core business, you can do a great job. But there's a lot of demand and it keeps, I don't think we're where we are. This is the journey to excellence. And if you're not engaging in the future and you're trying to maximize the firm that you are, you may want to get out because it is coming fast and furious. And scale matters, data matters, information matters. So I think you need to cover all those things.
And I know it's cliche, but it's that old school value proposition company culture. It's what you started with, Darryl. And I think that's what we often say people don't leave companies, they leave managers, they leave people. And so they leave when they're not supported. They don't leave because of the tech. They don't leave. That's all shiny, maybe. No. But that's the shiny stuff. It's typically the culture, the people. I'm accepted here. I know I'm supported. I know I'm backed. And so from a broker manager, as you're building your team, how are you embedding that in your team? How are you supporting them?
We're trying to look. We got people doing 100 million, 150 million. We're saying, how do we help them grow? Otherwise, if they don't see the value in the broker that's maximizing. Now you can get to a strip down, I'm offering no services and I'm just going to get a lot of people, but that's not our window.
Right.
And so our window says, how do we support it? It gets harder as you get larger because you got to get access to them and make them feel and give them real value, which is what you're doing. And you've seen it. Why I don't know why we go to church every week. I don't know what, for some reason, go to counseling. I don't think we ever get it. So it does take a community of coming back around. Do you have a strategy? Have you written the strategy down? Do you have your quarterly goals?
Do you have a business plan?
Do you have a business plan? I mean, that's to the agent. Do I know what I'm trying to accomplish and why I'm doing what I'm doing? If you've got all of that, you're going to do a good job and you can compete with anybody.
But I think that why is a big piece.
Yeah.
Why do you wake up every morning, do it? And if you're doing it for a paycheck, you're probably not good. You're chasing the transaction. And so it is understanding why you're doing it, whether you're an agent, a manager, a broker, what is filling your cup every day, and then how do you drive that?
Yeah, so you're running a business. So what's the economics of the business? What am I doing? How am I doing? Do you have budgets? We're doing our strategic plan right now. We've got our people in with strategic. What are the big rocks next year? What are we trying to do? If you don't have that rhythm, if you don't have it in writing, my dad used to say, Mike, you're a good talker. Put it in writing. If it's not written down, you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, gang, I hope that you got that you saw something that's clearly evident to me, is that it's not what you do as much as it's who you are.
Right.
And who these guys are, Christina, Mike, the company, the culture, they attract agents. They attract people because of the culture and because of who they are. And again, real estate is merely the platform to express their commitment. And so if you're a leader in this business, that's start there. Really look in the mirror and say, who am I in the matter of my business? What am I committed to? And the rest kind of follows. Gang, do me a favor. Could you, all the attendees, could you give some love to Christina and Mike? Tell them, what did you think? Throw it in the chat. Not the hearts. Comment in the chat. What did you guys? Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Tell them, don't do the hearts. Tell them in the chat. Tell them what, because these guys, they got other things to do over here. They stayed over time. There you go. That's what I want to see. I want to see some love. That's it. That's right. Okay.
A lot of your Kai's family is here with us today.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So illustrated, we're honored, and we say that. No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And we call it an upside down pyramid.
Yep.
We work for them. They don't work for us because they have options. They can leave us every day. I mean, go to someplace else. So I do think it's a partnership and cooperation of this journey of excellence and working together. We think we thrive more together than we do independent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to just say to you, Mike, I know you've got to be very proud.
I am.
Very proud of Christina, proud of your company, proud of the mark that you've made. You've made a huge difference in people's lives.
And
Really.
same to you, Darryl.
Thank you.
I feel the same way. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless. Thank you. Go out and get
Best
some
wishes
listings.
to you,
get some
Christina,
business.
on your little one that's on the way.
Yes, congratulations, Christina. Yes, very awesome.
Yes,
And
we're
I
ready.
look forward to talking to you guys again soon. All right.
Absolutely. Anytime, Darryl.
Thanks. Thanks,
you.
guys. Bye-bye.